This episode is a collection of 2 articles, both written by Bingus Aether of Cadis. The first being a Makerist perspective on Marmmote, and the second being Arcane Abexilas. A Makerist perspective on Marmmote, written by Bingus Aether of Cadis, published by Sparkstone Publishing, winter of 86 Voyager's era. This document serves as an initial inquiry into a personal experience that has profoundly impacted the people of Cadis and my newfound understanding of Makerism. Recently I encountered a being whose nature and purpose I am attempting to reconcile with the established doctrines of the Ascendari. This report will detail the observed characteristics of this entity, compare them to existing Makerist teachings, and pose questions for further theological exploration. It is my hope that this examination will contribute to a greater understanding of the Ascendari and their role within the Maker's grand design. With the evidence and ideas proposed within this article, I wish to convince the holy clergy that Marmmote is an Ascendari and a true messenger of the Maker. The Ascendari hold a vital place within Makerist belief, serving as the link between the Maker and the mortal world. They act as divine messengers, delivering crucial guidance and revelations that illuminate the Maker's will. Beyond communication, they offer protection and aid, embodying the Maker's compassion. Through their interventions, the Ascendari demonstrate the Maker's active presence and care, guiding believers along the path of righteousness and reinforcing the understanding that they are never truly alone. Marmmote displayed many of these traits during our meeting, which will be discussed later in this document. At this current moment in time, Marmmote's guidance has been twisted by power-hungry individuals trying to control the people of Cadis. Marmmote is currently most often worshipped through many different sects of Marmmotism. Important perspectives in Marmmote include traditional Marmmotism, the Mended, and Spravinsky Poldonskivi, the true followers. While their insight into what Marmmote represents is insightful, I believe them to be wrong. Traditional Marmmotism is rudimentary. After Cadis' first ever reaction with Marmmote, Lugs claimed to be Marmmote's chosen, as he had had the most interaction with them. He wrote the first ever holy book of Marmmotism and started the movement as a whole. Traditional Marmmotism claims Marmmote to be the one and only God. However, Marmmote has said many times that he's a messenger of a greater being, nullifying this interpretation. Lugs has tried to gain power from this, writing the first commandment as being, "If there is ocean, Sparkstone," which is Marmmote's town of origin, "shall rule." The Mended was a religious movement created by Queasley, who lied about being chosen by Marmmote through holy ritual, and tried to cement himself as a prophet. I originally fell for this lie. After Queasley was found out to be a fraud, he disappeared for years. He eventually returned, but he rescinded all past claims of being Marmmote's chosen. Spravinsky Poldonskivi, the true followers, is an updated version of traditional Marmmotism and has the closest true interpretation, in my opinion. Led by Scott the Jack, the true followers have had the most interaction with Marmmote. They are only the interpretation that recognises Marmmote is not the definitive God. Scott claims to be Marmmote's chosen after Marmmote gave him ownership of the holy city of Waden, a city that Marmmote once lived in, possibly signifying he was once mortal. Spravinsky Poldonskivi are by far the most influential sect of Marmmotism. However, they have shortcomings as well. They also do not have a solid idea of what the true God is. Their information on who Marmmote represents is purely speculation, and not by any means valid. This religion claims that Marmmote is the prophet, and Scott is Rybaka of Waden. Now that I've set a clear understanding of where Marmmotism stands now, I shall explain the timeline of Marmmote's interactions with people of Cadis in a concise timeline. Summer of 73 Voyager's era. Sparkstone had been established as Cadis' most prominent town. During the summer of 73 Voyager's era, the Cadis Guard found themselves in a predicament. A man known as Makato arrives with his followers in Sparkstone and begins constructing a large blackstone pyramid, shooting out the coast. The Caedus guard informed him what he was doing was illegal, which led to a violent conflict. This conflict raged on and caused anarchy in Caedus. Makato and his group caused a lot of significant damage to Sparkstone, but in Caedus' darkest moment, from the water ascended a being of significant power who smited and banished the invaders, casting them far away to the west, forever. The people of Caedus were swift to begin worshipping this powerful deity. This deity revealed itself to be Marmmote, protector of the seas. The people of Caedus had significant conversations with this deity at this time, which have ultimately been lost to time. But soon after, Lugs formed a religion and a holy book, proclaiming Marmmote to be the one true god. This religion focused on fishing and giving to the poor. It ultimately preached similar ideals to Makerism. Lugs canonized Makato as Makerism's equivalent of Emin. Fall of 73 Voyager's era. This is where I come into the story. As autumn came to the lands of Adramis, Marmmotism had already become the primary religion of Caedus. A follower known as Purpurator had discovered within the abandoned city of Waden a house which once belonged to Marmmote. This was swiftly declared a holy site. A common ritual was fishing in the holy sanctum, deep within the sewers of Sparkstone. It was said by followers that whoever could fish up a holy mending book in these waters would be chosen by Marmmote. Queasley and I were curious about Marmmotism, and when being taught the ways of Marmmotism, Queasley managed to fish up a mending book first attempt from the holy waters. He gave the book to the current mayor of Sparkstone, Frederick Valentine, who confirmed its authenticity. Queasley would quickly rise to power over Marmmotism, and I would follow him. However, Queasley began changing the rules of Marmmotism, which was met with discourse. The religion then was ripped apart into two sects, traditional Marmmotism and the Mended. At this time, I followed the Mended, due to having great trust of Queasley. The discourse eventually devolved into a violent conflict between both sects. During the violence, Marmmote appeared once more, as a sign of defiance against the Mended. Marmmote placed Scott as the rightful owner of the holy city, Waden. Queasley claimed this appearance of Marmmote was a demon sent by Makato to mislead the people of Sparkstone. After Marmmote gave Waden to Scott, my trust of his word began to fade. Not long after, Queasley would disappear completely from Caedus. At a later date, Frederick Valentine would tell me in confidence that Queasley had bribed him to lie about the book's authenticity, and that Queasley had never fished a mending book. After this, Scott would reform Marmmotism into Spravinsky Poldonskovi, due to Marmmote appearing and informing his followers not to worship him as God, but as the messenger. Not all groups would listen to this proclamation. Spravinsky Poldonskovi is flawed due to his ignorance of the primary deity that Marmmote represents. In my searching for what this god is, I found Makerism. I came to believe Marmmote to be as a messenger of the Maker. Marmmote is undeniably some sort of deity, and his place within Makerism is something I'd like to work out. He possesses abilities similar to many Ascendari, and I'd like to propose he is canonized as an Ascendari within Makerism. What are my reasons for this? To ignore Marmmote's power is ignorant. He fits in our theology somehow, he's ultimately real, and to ignore him is unwise. Once we work out where Marmmote fits into Makerism, we can guide the remnants of Marmmotism towards the Maker. Marmmote is currently used as a means to assert power and take control. We must show them the true way of the Maker. Marmmote fits perfectly into the canon of Makerism, and if he's considered an Ascendari, I see no reason not to recognise his divine nature. Now, what do we currently know about Marmmote? Marmmote is a highly powerful being. Marmmote is male but goes by the appearance of a ginger woman wearing a green robe. Marmmote has a profound connection to the ocean. It has been over 10 years since our last interaction with Marmmote. Perhaps he has chosen to distance himself after many used his existence to try and gain power over the people. My recommendation is that Marmmote is investigated by the clergy. I'd be willing to assist the clergy in attempts to contact him due to me being in his presence before. If the evidence suffices, I recommend that Marmmote is canonized as an Ascendari officially by the clergy. Thank you for reading my proposal, and I hope the clergy considers my ideas. Praise be the Maker. Arcane Abexilas, an academic article written by Bingus Aether of Makerist. Published by Sparkstone Publishing, summer of 75 Voyager's era. Ultimately, magic is an unknown force. Some groups believe to be a gift from the divine, others a function of life as natural as the water in Marmmote's ocean, or the grass that grows in our fields. All that scholars are able to pin down is the absolute fact that magic flows stronger in Abexilas. As an individual born after the War of the Comet, I never experienced what Eldam or Rathnir's arcanic energy was like. Only through word of mouth or the comparison of mages much greater than me, I was able to get a comprehensive understanding in the rise of magical energy documented in the settling of Abexilas. First, what is the basis of our knowledge on magic in this world? One thing we know for sure is that there are countless forms of magic that can be utilised. Whether that's through channeling lapis lazuli to enchant tools or armour, the most common form of magic used, conjuring atronarchs, or focusing beams through powerful artifacts. I personally believe that putting all these different forms of magic under the conclusive banner of the Arcane to be unimaginative. We have no reason to believe that these different forms of magical expression are related in any way. The Arcane is simply a word for the unexplained. Just because both humans and fish have eyes does not mean that they are in any way similar or related. Upon the discovery of a stronger magical energy in Abexilas, scholars and mages are quick to realise that not all magic was stronger than that used in the old world. Through gathering accounts from individuals from Eldam and Rathnir, I found that there is no recorded increase in the power of channeling lapis lazuli. Enchantments are no more powerful as they once were. However, arcanic alchemy has become more potent. The primary change between both times is through arcane connection. The magical connection reported was a rarer practice in the Traveller's era. Now people are much more frequently firing firebolts out of thin air without explanation. The people of Abexilas are able to connect to the arcane much easier, even without inherited talent or racial advantage. The cause for this is highly debated, and still mostly unknown. The Sparkstone Mages Collective was founded solely to study this particular trend. My theory is that magical connection is geographical. I conducted a study where I gathered a group of random mages all across Dramis and had them practice magical connection in different locations around Abexilas. I noted that 100% of the group were able to connect to the arcane much more efficiently in different locations. These locations weren't special in any way. This study used random fields in Las Vides, in the docks of Sparkstone, and more. I concluded from the results that magic connection is seemingly stronger based on location. The strength of these locations is seemingly random, without any sign of trend or system. My theory may be blasphemy or heretical to many faiths of Adramis, but I do not believe arcane connection to be divine channeling. Another common theory is that magic is internal to the body. Subscribers to this belief say that magic is linked to the soul, allowing users to channel arcane energy in their soul. However, this doesn't give any reason toward my study concluded that magical connection is more powerful based on geographical location. I conclude that magic is a force all around us, invisible like air but ever present. I also believe it has the ability to move. My study also been conducted multiple times in the same places. While the difference was minimal, I found that areas where magic was most prominent fluctuate. An example I'd like to bring to attention is the outskirts of Velarim. I noted that their connection to the arcane in this area was around 92.82 yexins, measured by the Yelkstor scale. See explanation later in my article. When previously in that location it had been 95.89 yexins. I then instructed my volunteers to move across the field and try again, and once they tested their magical connection through casting spells, I measured connection to be 95.71 yexins. While not exact, it suggests that these magical hotspots can either fluctuate or move like waves of the ocean around Abexilas. Combining this theory of magic being a visible force all around us that can be channeled, I now believe that magic is ever-moving, ever-present force. After having my studies peer-reviewed, experts agreed with my theories. What does this mean for the future of magical study? The connection potential in these areas does not fluctuate drastically. One location will not change by 5 Yexens under any circumstance, according to my research. Meaning it's possible to locate magical hotspots where the study of the arcane connection will be more profound. Areas of note in Adramis with exceptional magical connection are Sparkstone, 97.11 Yexens. Ironically, the highest result I was able to find was in our Mages Academy itself. I will make a great effort to question the founders of the Academy to understand if this is intentional or coincidence. Valorum Outskirts, 95.89 Yexens. Surprisingly, the capital of the United States of Adramis holds less potential for magical connection than the central hub of the city. The Steamy Towers, 95.8 Yexens. Libertas, 95.76 Yexens. Port Astel, 95.71 Yexens. This is a step in the right direction for the study of magic, and I sincerely hope that fellow enthusiasts of the arcane can put aside religious constraints when reading this. I plan to enact further studies to look into this matter. Explaining the Yelxador measurement system. Measuring the arcane connection a caster has when casting a spell is done through the use of amethyst channeling ports. Amethyst has been recorded to be able to withstand and contain magical energy. The Yelxador scale is measured in Yexens. The basis for what a Yexen is was measured by firing simple but powerful spells at a 3-inch by 3-inch amethyst channeling port, and measuring how much of the magic it was able to contain. Once finding the maximum amount of arcane energy a 3-inch by 3-inch amethyst channeling port could hold, that was the basis for 10 Yexens. More channeling ports will be created, but an increased size. Every 3 inches squared of volume equates to the amount of Vexens it can contain. In my study, 15 by 15-inch amethyst channeling ports were used, which had a capability of 150 Yexens of arcane energy it could contain within itself. After studying the ports with great detail, we were able to work out how many Yexens are contained. The spells were identical castings each time to keep my results fair. Summer of 75, Voyager's Era. Sparkstone Mages Academy Publishing. All rights reserved. Bingus Aether of Cadis.